The gate had been standing on my land for almost 3 years, and nobody had asked me for permission. At first, I ignored it. I thought the HOA had simply made another mistake. But then the signs appeared. Private community. No trespassing. And underneath them was a keypad-controlled metal gate blocking the road that led directly across my property. That was when I decided enough was enough. My name is Daniel Carter. My family had owned this land for generations. The road, the fields, the old barn, and the wooded section behind the farmhouse were all part of my property. The HOA had no ownership of it, yet their president, Karen Hayes, acted as if she owned everything. When I called her, she didn't even apologize. Instead, she said, "The gate improves security for everyone." I replied, "It also blocks my property." She laughed. "Daniel, everyone knows that road belongs to the community." I told her to check the county records. She said she didn't need to. That was her second mistake. The next morning, I contacted a licensed contractor and had the gate carefully removed from my property. No damage, no confrontation, just a simple removal of something that had been installed without my permission. By lunchtime, the road was open again. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. Karen arrived in an SUV with 2 HOA board members. She stepped out and stared at the empty entrance. "You removed our gate." I looked at her. It was on my land. "You had no right." I had every right to remove an unauthorized structure from my property. Karen pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the police." I shrugged. "Go ahead." 20 minutes later, a sheriff's deputy arrived. His name was Officer Miller. He listened to Karen first. She told him the gate belonged to the HOA. She claimed I had damaged community property. She even said the road had been legally controlled by the association for years. The officer didn't immediately take sides. Instead, he asked a simple question. "Do you have documentation showing the HOA owns this property?" Karen handed him a folder. He opened it, then frowned. "This doesn't show ownership." Karen insisted that the documents were enough. Officer Miller looked at me. "Do you have your property records?" I handed him a copy of the county survey and deed. He compared the documents. The road was clearly inside my property boundaries. The gate was on my land. But then Officer Miller noticed something strange. The gate wasn't simply blocking the road. It was also hiding a narrow access path leading into the wooded section behind my property. He walked toward it. Karen immediately became nervous. "Officer, there's nothing back there." He looked at her. "Then why is there a locked gate?" Karen didn't answer. The officer followed the path. I walked behind him. A few hundred feet into the woods, we discovered an old storage area. There were construction materials, stacks of pipes, discarded equipment, and several large containers covered with tarps. Officer Miller stopped. "Who owns this?" Karen suddenly appeared behind us. "That area is private." I looked at her. "It is your private area," the officer replied. She became quiet. He checked the surrounding records. Then he discovered something even more troubling. The HOA had been using my land as an unofficial storage and access area for years. They had never obtained permission. They had never registered an easement. And they had never disclosed it to property owners. The gate wasn't protecting the neighborhood. It was hiding the access route. Officer Miller photographed everything. Karen started arguing. "You're misunderstanding the situation." The officer calmly replied, then explained why the HOA's equipment is stored on private property. She couldn't. A few minutes later, the HOA board members arrived. They looked at the storage area and immediately started whispering among themselves. One of them finally admitted that the HOA had been using the land because they didn't have another convenient place for their maintenance equipment. Karen had never told the homeowners. Instead, she had installed the gate and acted like the road belonged to the community. The officer told everyone that the property dispute would have to be handled through the proper legal process. But he also made one thing clear. The HOA could not simply occupy private land because it was convenient. That evening, I stood beside the newly opened road. For the first time in years, I could drive straight across my own property without entering an HOA control gate. A few days later, the county reviewed the records. The boundaries were confirmed. The land was mine. The HOA had no documented right to control the road, and the storage area had never been authorized. Karen eventually removed the remaining equipment. The signs disappeared. The gate was gone, and the road was open again. But the most satisfying part wasn't removing the gate. It was discovering why they had fought so hard to keep it there. They didn't want security. They wanted control. And the gate wasn't protecting something from my land. It was hiding what they had been doing on it. From that day forward, Karen stopped calling my property community land, because once the records were opened, there was nowhere left for her story to hide. And sometimes, the biggest clue isn't what's behind a locked gate. It's why someone is so desperate to keep you from opening it.